Chapter 1. The Arrival. The night sky over Earth was serene, stars twinkling brightly as ever. But in the depths of space, a storm was brewing. Scientists at the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute, picked up unusual signals, a pattern unlike anything they had ever encountered. Dr. Lena Carter, an astrobiologist, was the first to decode the message. It was a warning, or perhaps a declaration. We are the Zethari. We come to claim what is rightfully ours. Panic ensued as the implications became clear. The Zethari were an advanced alien race, and they were on their way to Earth. The United Nations swiftly convened an emergency session, bringing together world leaders, military officials, and top scientists. In a rare moment of unity, they formed the Earth Defense Coalition, EDC, to prepare for the impending threat. General Marcus Steele, a seasoned military strategist, was appointed the head of the EDC. His first order of business was to assess Earth's readiness for a potential invasion. It quickly became apparent that Earth's defenses were woefully inadequate. The EDC began a massive mobilization effort, enlisting the help of every capable nation and utilizing all available resources. In a secret military base in the Nevada desert, engineers and scientists worked around the clock to develop new weaponry and defense systems. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a leading physicist, led a team tasked with understanding and countering potential alien technology. Meanwhile, cities across the globe prepared for the worst, implementing evacuation plans and setting up shelters. As the Zethari fleet approached, a sense of dread hung over the planet. News networks broadcasted constant updates, speculating on the aliens' intentions. Were they here to colonize, or did they have a more sinister purpose? The truth came when the first Zethari ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They targeted strategic military bases, communication hubs, and major cities. The initial attacks were swift and devastating. The Zethari's energy weapons and advanced shielding technology overwhelmed Earth's defenses. In a matter of hours, they had established control over several key locations. The EDC scrambled to respond, deploying fighter jets, tanks, and troops. But it was clear that conventional warfare was not enough. In the midst of the chaos, ordinary civilians found themselves thrust into extraordinary circumstances. In New York City, a young journalist named Alex Chang documented the invasion, risking his life to bring the truth to the world. In Tokyo, an elderly couple took in evacuees, providing food and shelter despite the danger. And in a small town in Texas, a group of teenagers formed a makeshift militia, determined to protect their home. The world watched as humanity's resilience was tested. The Zethari, led by Commander Tazan, seemed unstoppable. But Earth was not ready to surrender. As the first chapter of this epic saga drew to a close, the stage was set for a battle that would determine the fate of the planet. Chapter 2. The Battle Begins. The Zethari invasion was relentless. Their ships hovered ominously over major cities, casting shadows that seemed to blot out hope itself. In the initial days of the assault, the EDC struggled to coordinate a coherent defense. The Zethari's technological superiority was evident. Their ships were impervious to conventional weapons, and their energy-based armaments cut through Earth's defenses with alarming ease. General Marcus Steele stood in the EDC's command center, a secure underground facility equipped with the latest technology. Screens displayed real-time feeds from across the globe, showing the extent of the devastation. Despite the chaos, Steele remained composed, issuing orders and strategizing with his team. He knew that Earth's only chance lay in understanding the enemy's technology and finding a way to exploit any potential weaknesses. In a fortified research facility, Dr. Elena Vasquez and her team of scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the fragments of Zethari technology recovered from downed ships. Their breakthrough came unexpectedly when a young hacker named Samira al-Hassan, working independently, managed to intercept and decode a portion of the Zethari's communications. She discovered that the Zethari ships operated on a frequency vulnerable to disruption by certain electromagnetic pulses, EMPs. Armed with this new information, the EDC devised a plan. They would launch a coordinated counterattack, using EMPs to disable the Zathari ship's shields and weapons systems. The operation was risky and required perfect timing, but it was the best chance they had. The world watched anxiously as the plan was put into motion. In cities like New York, London, and Beijing, EDC forces launched simultaneous attacks. Fighter jets equipped with newly developed EMP missiles took to the skies, engaging the Zathari ships. On the ground, soldiers and civilians alike braced for the counteroffensive. Among them was Alex Chang, the journalist who had become a voice of resilience, broadcasting live reports from the front lines. As the EMP missiles detonated, a wave of electromagnetic interference swept through the skies. The Zathari ships flickered, their shields momentarily destabilizing. EDC forces seized the opportunity, launching a barrage of missiles and artillery fire. For the first time, they managed to inflict significant damage on the invaders. In New York, one of the massive Zathari ships plummeted into the Hudson River, sending a tidal wave crashing into the city. The victory was short-lived. The Zathari quickly adapted, recalibrating their systems to resist the EMPs. Commander Tizan, watching from his flagship, ordered a retaliatory strike. The Zathari unleashed a new wave of attacks, this time targeting civilian infrastructure and communication networks. The devastation was immense, and the death toll rose sharply. Despite the setbacks, the EDC's counterattack had not been in vain. The EMPs had exposed a vulnerability, however brief, and demonstrated that the Zathari were not invincible. General Steele and Dr. Vasquez convened with other leaders and scientists to reassess their strategy. They realized that defeating the Zathari would require not just military might, but also a deeper understanding of their culture, motivations, and weaknesses. Meanwhile, on the ground, ordinary people continued to resist. In Texas, the group of teenagers, led by a resourceful young man named Ethan, managed to repel a Zathari scouting party, capturing one of their weapons. In Tokyo, the elderly couple and their neighbors set up a makeshift communication network, helping to coordinate relief efforts and share vital information. The resilience and ingenuity of humanity shone through, even in the darkest of times. The EDC's counteroffensive had given the world a glimmer of hope, but the battle was far from over. As the second chapter ended, the stakes were higher than ever. The Zathari were preparing to escalate the conflict, and Earth's defenders knew they had to be ready for anything. Chapter 3. The Counteroffensive. The EDC's temporary success in disrupting the Zathari's technology had sparked a new sense of hope and determination across Earth. While the Zathari adapted quickly, the brief victory demonstrated that the invaders could be challenged. Now, the focus shifted to finding a more permanent solution, a way to turn the tide of the war in humanity's favor. In the fortified research facility, Dr. Elena Vasquez and her team continued their relentless pursuit of understanding Zathari technology. They discovered that the Zathari's advanced shielding and weapon systems relied heavily on a centralized power source located on their flagship, which hovered in Earth's upper atmosphere. Disabling this power source could potentially cripple the entire invasion force. The EDC devised a bold plan, a coordinated strike on the flagship codenamed Operation Dawn. The mission would involve a multi-pronged assault, combining air, ground, and cyber forces to penetrate the Zathari defenses and target the power core. The operation was risky, with no guarantee of success, but it was a chance they had to take. General Steele briefed the world's leaders and military commanders, emphasizing the importance of unity and coordination. The EDC mobilized all available resources, including elite special forces, advanced drones, and newly developed anti-aircraft systems. They also enlisted the help of civilians, who volunteered in droves to support the war effort, from logistics to medical aid. As the day of the operation approached, tension ran high. In the streets of New York, London, and Tokyo, people prepared for what could be the decisive battle. News outlets broadcasted messages of solidarity and resilience, urging everyone to stand firm. In a show of unity, various religions and cultural groups held prayers and ceremonies, seeking strength and protection. The operation began at dawn, with the EDC launching a massive air assault. Fighter jets and drones engaged the Zathari ships, drawing their attention away from the main strike force. On the ground, Special Forces teams moved swiftly to neutralize Zathari ground troops and secure key locations. Meanwhile, a team of cyber experts, including Samira al-Hassan, launched a cyber attack to disrupt the Zathari's communications and control systems. As the battle raged, the main strike team, led by Captain Sarah Connor, a seasoned pilot, prepared for their mission. They were tasked with infiltrating the flagship and disabling the power core. The team consisted of the best, including soldiers, engineers, and hackers. They launched in a stealth ship, evading detection as they approached the flagship. Inside the Zathari flagship, Commander Tazan was monitoring the battle, unaware of the impending threat. The EDC's diversionary tactics had worked, diverting most of the Zathari forces away from the flagship. The strike team breached the ship's hull, encountering fierce resistance as they made their way to the power core. The battle inside the flagship was intense. The Zathari warriors, known for their strength and agility, put up a fierce fight. The EDC team used their advanced weaponry and training to push forward, taking heavy casualties along the way. Captain Connor led the charge, determined to complete the mission no matter the cost. Finally, the team reached the power core. Dr. Vasquez, who had accompanied the team to provide technical expertise, quickly assessed the situation. She identified the critical points and directed the team to place explosive charges. As they worked, alarms blared, and Zathari reinforcements closed in. Time was running out. Captain Connor and her team held the line, buying Dr. Vasquez the precious minutes she needed. As the last charge was set, they made a desperate dash for the extraction point. The charges detonated, sending shockwaves through the flagship. The power core was destroyed, causing the ship to lose control and begin to plummet towards Earth. The EDC team barely escaped, their ship rocketing away as the flagship disintegrated. The loss of the power core sent shockwaves through the Zathari fleet. Their ships, suddenly deprived of power and coordination, faltered. The EDC seized the opportunity, launching a full-scale assault on the remaining Zathari forces. In a matter of hours, the tide of the battle had turned. The Zathari were in full retreat, their invasion force shattered. Earth's forces pursued them relentlessly, ensuring they could not regroup. The victory was not without cost. Many lives were lost, and cities were left in ruins. But for the first time since the invasion began, humanity had hope. As the third chapter ended, the world breathed a collective sigh of relief. The Zathari were on the run, but the war was not yet over. The final chapter would determine the ultimate fate of both Earth and the Zathari. Chapter 4. The Final Stand. The destruction of the Zathari flagship and the disabling of their power core had given Earth a fighting chance. However, the threat was not completely eradicated. The remaining Zathari forces, though weakened, regrouped under Commander Tazan's leadership. Desperate to salvage their mission, they prepared for a final, all-out assault on Earth, targeting key cities and military installations. In response, the EDC intensified its efforts, rallying global forces for the final stand. General Steele and Dr. Vasquez, along with other key leaders, worked tirelessly to fortify Earth's defenses and prepare for the impending attack. The world watched with bated breath, knowing that the outcome of this battle would decide the fate of the planet. As the Zathari fleet approached, the EDC launched its last line of defense, a network of satellites equipped with powerful energy cannons designed to intercept and destroy incoming enemy ships. On the ground, anti-aircraft batteries, missile systems, and fortified bunkers were prepared for the assault. Civilians were evacuated from high-risk areas, with shelters and safe zones established across the globe. The battle began with a massive aerial engagement. The EDC's satellite network, dubbed Project Aegis, fired upon the advancing Zathari ships, successfully neutralizing several of them. However, the Zathari had adapted, deploying countermeasures that reduced the effectiveness of the energy cannons. The remaining ships pushed through, descending towards Earth's major cities. In New York, Alex Chang continued his live reporting, documenting the unfolding chaos. The city was heavily fortified, with military units and armed civilians prepared to defend it. As the first Zathari ships appeared on the horizon, anti-aircraft systems roared to life, filling the sky with tracer rounds and missile contrails. In Tokyo, the elderly couple who had sheltered evacuees were now leading their community in preparing for the invasion. They had organized a local militia, coordinating with military units to defend key infrastructure. The city was a hive of activity, with people fortifying buildings and setting up barricades. In Texas, Ethan and his group of teenagers, now seasoned fighters, joined the local National Guard in defending their town. They had salvaged Zathari weapons and used them to bolster their defenses. As the Zathari descended, they took up positions, ready to fight to the last. The battle was fierce and chaotic. The Zathari, though fewer in number, were relentless and well-armed. They deployed ground troops and advanced mechs, wreaking havoc on Earth's defenses. The EDC fought back with everything they had, from tanks and aircraft to infantry and drones. The skies were filled with the sound of explosions and the glow of energy weapons. Amidst the chaos, the EDC's cyber team, led by Samira al-Hassan, worked to disrupt the Zathari's command and control systems. They hacked into the Zathari network, creating confusion and disrupting their communications. This cyber attack, coupled with the relentless defense on the ground, began to turn the tide. Commander Tuzan, realizing the invasion was failing, decided to use their last resort, a planet-destroying weapon known as the Doomsday Device, hidden aboard a massive battleship in orbit. The device, once activated, would release a chain reaction capable of annihilating all life on Earth. Tuzan believed that if they could not conquer Earth, they would ensure it could never be used against them. The EDC intercepted this information through their cyber attack and realized the gravity of the situation. They quickly formulated a desperate plan. A strike team would infiltrate the battleship and disable the device before it could be activated. The team, led by Captain Sarah Connor and including Dr. Vasquez and a group of elite soldiers, launched immediately. The strike team's mission was a race against time. They boarded the battleship and fought their way through heavy resistance to reach the control room. There they found the device already in the final stages of activation. Dr. Vasquez worked frantically to disarm it, while the team held off the Zathari soldiers. Just as the device was about to reach critical mass, Dr. Vasquez found the shutdown sequence. She entered the code and the device powered down, averting catastrophe. The team quickly planted charges and evacuated the battleship, which exploded as they made their escape. With the Doomsday Device destroyed and their forces decimated, the Zathari had no choice but to retreat. Commander Tuzan, humiliated and defeated, ordered a full withdrawal. Earth's defenders watched as the remaining Zathari ships left the atmosphere, disappearing into the depths of space. The battle was over. Earth had won, but at a great cost. Cities lay in ruins, and the death toll was staggering. The world mourned the loss of those who had fallen, but there was also a sense of pride and relief. Humanity had faced the greatest threat in its history and emerged victorious. In the aftermath, world leaders gathered to address the global community. They spoke of rebuilding and the lessons learned from the invasion. General Steele and Dr. Vasquez were hailed as heroes, along with countless soldiers, scientists, and civilians who had played their part in the defense. Alex Chang's broadcasts had become a symbol of resilience, capturing the spirit of a united humanity. As Earth began the long process of recovery, the EDC transformed into a permanent organization, tasked with protecting the planet from future threats. The Zathari invasion had shown that humanity was not alone in the universe, and that vigilance and unity were essential for survival. The story concluded with a message of hope and resilience. Despite the scars left by the invasion, humanity had proven its strength and resolve. As the world looked to the stars, it did so with a newfound determination to protect its home and explore the cosmos, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead.